So hey guys, welcome back to another video, and for the first time on this channel, nothing F1 related, although second crack of it. I'm here with Ryan.
Hello.
And today we're here, as you can tell by the title, for the Gprl podcast, round 2 Bahrain. We had actually filmed one for last week, although I was ill, we never really got round to it, so we're taking second crack at it, myself and Ryan, the two best commentators of motorsport in the history of the universe. And we're going to be pretty much reviewing last week's race, this week's race, and then looking forward to next week. And we got a couple driver contributions also. We got Steve, Ferrari driver.
Hello.
And we've also got Jarno, driver at Sauber.
Hello.
And they're going to be here talking us through their races, their ambitions for the rest of the season. So, Ryan, I think if we start off looking at last week at Silverstone, give us a quick rundown of how you thought the race went.
Well, from our point of view as well, it was very dominant for Marcos, who won by over 14 seconds, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very dominant race for him, and it was a very interesting race all across the whole grid. You had battles like for the podium, you had battles in the midfield, and you had one or two battles at the back. It was pretty quiet at the back, to be honest.
It was a little bit more spaced out towards the back.
There was still a lot to comment on.
It was quite an entertaining, interesting race to commentate over. And obviously the Mercedes a 1-2 in qualifying. That sort of came out of nowhere, didn't it?
Yeah, we didn't expect it. We thought that it was going to be a Red Bull front row going for last season, but turns out that the Mercedes managed to get in good laps right at the end of the session.
And yeah, just when everyone couldn't really compete. So yeah, obviously Marcos winning, Alex struggling in race pace. Would you say, Alex in the Mercedes?
Yeah, I'd say he struggled to keep up with his teammate for most of the time, but he still did a good job to go second place in I believe his first race in the Mercedes. So
yeah, it was. I think both of them debuting for Mercedes, and both came in midway through season 3. So not the most experienced yet, smashing it out the park. So far, and Alex did actually prove his pace when he did get pole in Bahrain, which we will come to later. But Jarno, we're gonna ask you a couple of questions now, and first of all, talking off, how was your race in Silverstone? If you could give us a quick rundown of it.
Yeah, the start was okay, but yeah, I didn't have the race pace to keep up with the guys in front, so. Yeah, nothing else to say about that.
Fair enough. Something else that me and Ryan have mentioned both on the live stream, and we actually mentioned it last week. It's the relationship between teammates. Obviously, you and Yannick have been together since the start of Gprl. How is that relationship going at Sauber?
Yeah, we started being teammates at season 2, and we kept going, and we discussed about it to be teammates in season 3 and also in season 4. So hopefully next season as well. And
finally, what's it like being back at Sauber? Obviously, joint constructors champions in season 2. What's it like?
It's a much better feeling than driving the McLaren, because McLaren was just shit. Fair. I had so much bad luck.
Yeah.
I got two podiums in season 3, but yeah. Being in the lead at the French Grand Prix, crashing out at lap 2 due to very terrible tire wear. So yeah, I was mad about that.
Yeah, and obviously nice to see you bit the homecoming in a way. I think me and Ryan said, and hopefully you two can. You haven't had the best luck, but hopefully it can turn around, and we do look forward to seeing you fight at the front.
Yeah, I'm gonna start to no assist, so my pace will not be the best at this coming up races, but hopefully it will get better through the season.
It's nice to know, Jarno. And Ryan, anything to touch on before we move on to Bahrain? I think we've given a pretty good rundown of Silverstone.
Yeah, I think that was basically everything that we covered in the live stream as well. So, yeah, I'd say that was everything.
And moving on to Bahrain. So, as we did briefly touch on before, Alex got on pole. So, he clearly showed that his pace. Bahrain was there, and the Ferraris were there also. It was quite a tight qualifying session, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really close up at the top, but looking to last race, it wasn't as close for the front, because you saw that, I think in Silverstone it was the top 7 were separated by less than a second.
Yeah.
But I think at Bahrain there was only like 3 or 4 cars that were within a second.
Yeah, that is a good point. But someone that actually impressed me thinking about it now is Tyler in the Haas, driving for McLaren. Bit of a confusion there, but I think he got up into P2 at one point. That was quite an impressive showing from him, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did get up into P2. I think that was towards the beginning of the qualifying session. He was pretty close to pole, but I don't think he went out for another lap, so I think that really hurt his performance. It dropped him to P5, I think it was.
Yeah.
So it's still a solid qualifying, even though he did drop down a few positions.
It was a very entertaining qualifying session with juggling up at the top, and obviously Marcos getting disqualified. I haven't asked him what the problem was. I probably should in hindsight, but he just stopped on track and got disqualified. That's about it, and obviously we all know what happened next.
Yep.
But we can get to that later. But yeah, an interesting qualifying session. Marcus's teammate Alex showing that he's not, he's definitely to be considered as a possible championship contender if he. Obviously, he did have connection issues in the race when he was on course for a win, you'd say. Obviously, the Ferrari's race pace was strong, but it would have been interesting to see that battle. So, do you think Alex can really take the fight to Marcos through the remainder of the season?
I think it'll probably take easily a few races or so for Alex to sort of get up to like Marcos's standard or thereabouts enough to secure a 1-2. I think it's going to take. I don't want to say like sort of mid-season. I reckon he'll start to produce 1-2 finishes for the team. I think it'll take a while for him to settle in, because obviously he's good in the qualifying, but he needs to work on his race pace.
Do you think that's down to tyre wear or consistency for Alex?
It's hard to tell, because obviously the Mercedes cars, when they were on pole, when they had the 1-2 in Silverstone, I believe they used similar strategies. So it could just be down to tyre wear, and just that Marcos is a lot stronger at using it, conserving the tyres, or like you said, it could just be consistency.
Yeah, well, I think if we look back to Silverstone, Alex did actually go on the hards, which helped him out towards the end. But I think it was really too late for Alex, and obviously in Bahrain with the connection issues, he didn't get to his pit stop, so we didn't quite get to see. So I think to be completely honest, I think it's a little bit too early to judge for Alex. But I think one thing that we can say for definite is Marcos very fast. Obviously over the winter he stepped up, and I think the Red Bulls need to follow, because, the unfortunate accident at the start, which we will get onto right about now. What did you make of that?
Well, obviously from our point of view, it was just there was a lot of questions from us, I believe.
Yeah.
There was a lot of what happened. We're gonna have to find out pretty quickly what exactly happened at the start, and even seeing the footage from the start, it was still a bit of a blur as to what exactly happened, because it's hard to tell like who got caught with who, and it's hard to say what happened.
It was tricky, and they did have a lot of investigation put behind it, and that's why the results have been quite slow to come out. They're not out as we speak, but they will be out very soon, and obviously out by the time this podcast is out. But Jarno, we'll come to you. Steve, we will come to you in just a moment. Just sit tight. What did you make about that incident at the start?
Yeah, I had a pretty good start. I was faster away than Bahrain, but Felix had a better start than me and Bahrain. So I wanted to defend off from him, but Felix was in between there, and that's why we caught up with the three of us.
Yeah, I think obviously it was an unfortunate accident, and 20-second time penalties were given to all drivers. They were removed for the end of the race. So Felix did manage to keep his podium. And Steve, coming to you now. Obviously, you told us last week that you and Ralph get on very well. You do speak in a party. You two had a bit of a battle. What was that like in the race?
No, it was more at first. I didn't have the pace, so I let him pass.
Okay.
But then when he spun and nearly made me spun, I was like a little bit mad. But I figured out to not to spin, and I was okay.
Yeah, and obviously Raul, he did drop off a little bit. What did you think, Ryan, of the Ferrari's pace? Because initially, on the softs, they were strong and closing up to Alex, but it just sort of seemed to go. I mean, especially for Raul, it just seemed to go a little bit downhill from there.
Yeah, both Ferraris definitely had very strong pace from the beginning of the race, because you could say they were starting to put on quite a lot of pressure on the lead. So, yeah, they were keeping it very consistent, and they were also very quick compared to Alex. So, yeah, it was good to see the Ferraris really pushing for the race win, just like they did sort of towards the beginning of the British Grand Prix.
Yeah, exactly that. And talking about Bahrain, he had a disastrous race, really, didn't he?
Oh yeah, it was just bad luck after bad luck. Obviously, getting caught up in the beginning, which was pretty sad to see. The two Red Bulls get taken out at the beginning, but yeah, and then further on in the race, we had a little interesting moment with one of the rookies, I believe, that
it was the
spun him out.
Yeah,
when he was making his way through the field. So
made a little bit of contact, and I think we put that one down to him because he did make a bit of contact with him, but obviously, yeah, he ended up going round, which wasn't beneficial. But to be completely honest, I think he got P5 in the end. It's not bad at all.
Yeah,
is
it was P5.
10 points on the board for him. I think. Go on.
But I think he got a 20-second time penalty, so he should be. Well, if you look at the results, he should technically have finished fourth if you take away 20 seconds from his time. I believe so. 5 seconds, and then.
I'm not sure about that. I do think Felipe finished P4. I will check that one for you. But
yeah, because I'm just looking at the picture that you sent me, and it says he was 5 seconds behind Felipe, but Felipe was 17 seconds behind Steve.
That was before the finish, though. That was before the finish.
Oh, okay.
So he's just before. So I do think that is correct, but I will check it for you after. But
okay.
Yeah, I think talking about Bahrain and Felipe, well, more about Felipe. He's not done bad, has he, to come back with next to no practice and whip out a P4? How did you see his race fold out?
Oh, it definitely was. It was a solid race for him, considering he had missed out, obviously, the test race and the first race of the season. Kind of showing off a little bit what he did last season.
Yeah.
If you remember, of course, he got the race win.
From last.
I think if he was here since the beginning of the season, I think he could have been up there with Marcos battling for the win. Because obviously he showed that last season, when he started last, as well as Marcos. So I think it definitely could have been a good fight for the win between them two.
Yeah, it just seems as Bahrain people like to win from the back of the grid. So, yeah, definitely very good showing from Marcos, showing that he is definitely, you'd say, the favourite for the title at this point, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I think in terms of constructors, Mercedes did fall behind behind Red Bull. Obviously, Red Bull with the consistency, just ahead of Mercedes. Do you see Ferrari getting in the fight, Ryan?
Yeah, they're only 10 points off of Mercedes and 14 points off of Red Bull. So yeah, I definitely think that Ferrari can battle for the constructors as well. Get a little bit of a good old real-time rivalry between the top three teams. Yeah, I think that towards the end of the season it could get very close at the top, where the last race would have to require a 1-2 from one of the teams to secure the constructors.
That would be interesting. Hopefully we can get something as dramatic as that. And Steve, you're obviously the lead Ferrari driver so far in the the driver standings. Do you think you guys can challenge the Red Bulls and the Mercedes?
Yeah, sure. The problem is our consistency, because in Bahrain, Raul had some problems, I think, but we could easily score a double podium.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you for that, Steve, and we look forward to seeing you get into the fight. I think looking further back in the field, rookies scoring points, you guys got 1 point again, Tyler got 4 points, so impressive showing from them, really.
Yeah, it's been a solid start to the season for the two rookies especially to be scoring points in the first two races. That's very.
Yeah, I think
that shows a lot of potential.
Yeah, I think one thing that should also be pointed out, the numbers we have this year in Gprl, it's a lot different. We had 17 drivers yesterday, which is quite a high number for a league race. And obviously nothing that's quite as serious as F1 esports. But yeah, obviously growing population and making it harder and harder for drivers to score points. And you see these rookie drivers coming through the field, and you think Tyler, he was on for a P6 maybe in Silverstone, so it could be interesting to see where he comes out. And Ryan, do you think if Tyler has how do I put this? If he has a consistent sort of season, do you think he could challenge for podiums and maybe get up to the top 6 in the driver standings?
I think he could be. I do believe that he is very consistent, but I feel that he could possibly. He'd be a good fight in the midfield. I think in terms of podiums and stuff, that could just be a one-off result, or if he commits to it, it could be consistent podiums if he really goes at it. But I think at the moment he'll be a very solid midfield challenger.
Fair enough. So I think we've sort of gone through everything that needs to be said for Bahrain. I think moving on to Mexico now. Obviously next round next Friday. Mexico is if we think back to last season, I have a terrible memory.
Yeah, I can't remember what happened in the last race.
No, neither can I. Mexico. We're gonna stop trying to remember Mexico. Let's think. Obviously, a lot of overtaking. Probably expect if there's a lot of drivers again. Obviously, always an interesting race in Gprl, but hopefully we will see quite an interesting race. I'm going to ask you the same question as I did last week. Do you see Mercedes on top again?
Is this a question to me?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I believe that with the pace they had obviously this race and the race before, yeah, I can definitely see them challenging for the top again.
Yeah, and obviously I think, as we did briefly touch on last time, if the Red Bulls can get near Mercedes, do you think they have the race pace to challenge?
Well, I guess there's only one way to find out.
There is, and unfortunately
that'll be on the track, because obviously when we were looking back to Silverstone, we didn't anticipate the Mercedes going as quick as they did. Mm-hmm. So I think it's another all to play for race, because I've just got the results now, and actually Raul won at Mexico last season along with Bahrain. Marcos was on the podium. Felipe was 4th. Felix was 5th. Then it's Kareem, Steve, I believe that's Yannick, or Henrik, sorry.
Henrik.
Jarno, Azian in the other Toro Rosso.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's Yannick, and then I believe that is Alex.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, that was the results from last season. So I think if Raul,
Obviously, he likes Mexico, Raul, clearly. So maybe if...
yeah, he does. I think he won by quite a dominant fashion. I think he won by easily over a few seconds. So he was quite far ahead.
I think, as Steve said earlier, if consistency, I think if he can keep it on the black stuff, you know, maybe we could see a decent fight for the win. And then obviously there's always the unknown of the Red Bulls. We know, you know, I think going into this season, maybe it was just me, but I saw Bahrain and Felix in the same team. Obviously Felix came into the league later in season 3, and Bahrain obviously dominating for a lot of season 3. You think, do we have another Mercedes 2014 situation? But I'm very happy it hasn't played out that way, in a way, and we do have quite a tight fight at the top.
I could. Well, it just depends on how close it gets towards the end of the season. Yeah, maybe we could see a little bit that, like, going very aggressive on the last race against each other. And you never know, at some point in the season there could be, well, a heartbreaker moment for the Red Bulls where they collide into each other trying to let each other past. So
hopefully that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
But moving to you drivers, Steve, we'll start with you. Is it too early to start thinking about Mexico, or have you already got an idea in mind of what sort of thing you want to be doing?
No, in Mexico I'm aiming for the podium, and if things go well, maybe a victory.
Thank you, Steve. And same question to you, Yana.
I hope I get good pace without the assist, but I definitely think it's going to be better than last year, because last year, well, in Mexico was my first race with the wheel, and
yeah.
I've definitely upped my pace
Okay.
when I drive with the wheel.
Right.
So hopefully for consistent and good luck race.
Right, okay, thank you for that, Yana. Thank you, drivers. And I think we're going to end it here. Thank you for all being on. Thank you, Ryan, for joining me. And yeah, looking forward to Mexico. It'll be interesting to see where the Mercedes, the Red Bulls, the Ferraris, the Saubers all come into it. Also, the lower midfield battle. Can the likes of Renault, Haas, and who else was it?
It was, I need to, Force India.
And Force India, can they score points? Find out next Friday, 5 p.m. GMT. Join me and maybe Ryan. Will you be available next week?
Yeah, I'll be available.
Lovely. So, see you then, and hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe if you're new, and see you next time.